Hello, welcome to Romantic Wednesdays with Poetry. I'm Alisa Agnes, your host, and I believe it's time to get real and spill some tea or coffee. So today I'm starting a totally new cycle, the seventh one. It's called Romantics. It comes from the second volume, Students' Notes Open Eyes, and it's a part of my debut poetry book, which is called Once Upon a Time There Were Two Poetry Books. So today you will learn more about Lithuania and Desert. So these two poems are very romantic in my opinion, and that's why they are a part of the cycle called Romantics, because Students' Notes Open Eyes is the concept inspired by my studies, and the whole second year of my studies was all about romanticism, and that's why I was drowned in that romantic state of mind for the whole year. So I wrote a few such romantic poems, which are kinda, educational, to be honest. It's more like that than just, talking about love or ghosts or something like that. It's a little bit different approach to romanticism era. So after this little beginning, I can tell you a few words about Lithuania. But wait, at first I will read you this poem. Yes. So that's Lithuania. Dear Lithuania, I think about you, though I don't know your language. Dear Lithuania, you're my country, though my ancestors had gone. Dear Lithuania, I remember about you, since I know my secret ways. Dear Lithuania, though my home is here, that's where my heart goes for the first time. So, that's Lithuania, and you probably wonder now why I address such a poem to Lithuania, to the country. So, as you probably already know, I'm Polish, but I found out during my studies that my surname has Lithuanian roots. So, in fact, it's not a Polish surname, but the Polish version of the Lithuanian surname. And, it was probably my 21st birthday, if I remember it as well. So that's when I found out about this, and that's when I wrote this poem. So it wasn't 2020, but 2019. Yep, probably yes. So after finding out that I'm not really in 100% Polish, but Lithuanian Polish, I realized that it makes so much sense to me since then. And I think diving into my roots helped me to understand better who I am. And this poem is just a symbol of someone's identity. And it's also very romantic because there is such a poet, Polish poet Adam Mickiewicz, and he wrote such poetical books, and he was also talking about Lithuania there, and it was a very important symbol for him and for the Polish romantic era. So this metaphor also became mine at this point, and that's why I wrote such a poem. So it's not only about my roots, but also about those romantics who were literally born in Lithuania, and though they were speaking in Polish they felt like such real Lithuanians, and I kind of feel the same way, because a surname, it's a very important thing, and it's literally who I am. And it also made me realize why so many people in Poland also had problems with pronouncing my surname, because it's not a typical mix of sounds. It's not a Polish thing, but Lithuanian. So I think it was very important to me, and this kind of discoveries don't happen too often. And you also need to know that my mom never changed her surname after the marriage with my father, but my father changed his surname because he didn't like the way it sounded, and he never was close with his family, so that's why I have my mother's surname and my grandfather's. And when I look at my ancestors, I realize that they have lived their Podlasie era old Lithuanian lands since centuries, and that's why I also talk about ancestors here in this poem, because I've learned that a Polish queen, Anna Jagiellonka, probably her, gave my ancestors nobility, and it happened in 16th century, and that's when my family got their lands, and they were a little bit farther than where my mom comes from, but I've learned that it totally makes sense. So my family has noble roots, not only Lithuanian, and it's kind of insane. But when it comes to that language factor, once again, in 16th century, Polish language was official language also in Lithuania. And that's why I also mention about the language, about ancestors, about remembering Lithuania and my roots. And it's simply a poem which is expressing my kind of love for those lands, because it's simply a part of me. Yep. And also there's a line, I remember about you since I know my secret ways, and it's simply about the moment of discovering this kind of history. And also, do you know how it happened? During classes at the university, I've got few dictionaries, something like that, with all Polish surnames and with the meaning of those surnames. And I haven't found my surname in those books. And when I asked my teacher about this, the professor, she told me that it's probably because I'm not really Polish. And when I talk about the lands where my mom came from, it all made sense, because my surname is simply a Lithuanian one, and it's just a Polish version of this. Yeah, that's insane, I know. So that's what I can tell you about Lithuania. So right now I can move on to the second poem. It's called Desert. So it's a very short poem, but at first I will read you, and later I will tell you a few words about this. So this is Desert. My heart was caged in a desert, cold heart, smoky sorrow. But he said, I love you, just wait for me, just wait. Yep, that's all. So, why it's a poem called Desert put in the cycle called Romantics? To be honest, when I was compiling my book, it had to make sense to me, but right now I don't remember if desert is some kind of romantic kind of thing that appeared in any romantic classic book. I really don't remember this right now, so it's hard for me to tell you right now about the story, about the meaning of the desert, because I simply don't remember that anymore. But it's been 6 years, so I have a right not to remember. But well, another thing which I think also makes it a romantic poem is simply talking about love. And when we have unhappy love, or so unsure heart, or something like that, you can be sure that it's very romantic. So here we have a heart which is caged, and it's placed in a desert. So it's simply about the feeling of being trapped in the situation when your heart gets so cold, and it's so cold so it starts smoking, and what it's in the smoke? Sorrow. So it's very romantic. Also, this word sorrow reminds me of the book by Goethe, and Sorrows of the Young Werther, something like that. So yep, that's the first verse, and the second one is about the confession of love from the boy, and it's also I think some kind of comforting situation, because when you feel so down, he tells you he loves you and he will come back soon. So it's a very comforting message, very romantic. Yep, and I think that's all that I can tell you about this poem. If I recall anything about the meaning of the desert, I will probably write this in my blog post. So feel free to check out aliceagnes.com. That's my official website. That's where you can find my blog, Get Inspired. That's where I always put out blog posts about these podcast episodes. So if you want to learn more, find all links and stuff like that, you can, check out my official website. Yep, so I think that's all about these poems, and now it's time to tell you what will happen in the next episode. So it's a very short cycle, so next 2 poems will be those closing ones from the cycle. The first poem is called Unbelievably Romantic Poem, and it's full of knowledge, names, titles, so it will be a very interesting lesson about Polish Romanticism. And the second poem is called The Poem of Gratitude. It's also very close to those history of literature kind of stuff, and it was written for the professor who was retiring after our class, so we were his last class, so I wrote such a poem for him as such a little goodbye from us. Yep. And well, it will be the end of the 7th cycle. Well, I hope you like this episode, and also feel free to check out my store if you like my podcast. If you want to support it, you can check out my store. You can also join the first tier on Patreon, which is all about, giving you these episodes a month before they come out. This price is very symbolical. So, there's also one way of the supporting my show. It's also connected with those bonus episodes with the guests. So if you want to support my show and also appear here and talk about poetry with me, then it's a really good option. You can find my email at which you can write such a message that you want to be a part of my podcast. You can find this on my official website. And I think that's all that I wanted to tell you today. You know what to expect in the next episode. So I guess it's time to tell you until the next time. Yep. Bye.